I'm asking everybody for some patience. Please sit down. You'll have an opportunity to respond, but we'll never get through this if we continue the way we're going. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman, just in relation to Mr. Dino's comments, and then I'm hoping that they weren't personally directed towards me or anybody else who might be supporting this as far as being unethical. I am not making these cuts willingly, and I'm not making them on a willy-nilly basis either. I believe that the cuts that are being proposed here, from a prioritization standpoint, in relation to the school department needs and what the general government can offer in the way of services under a balanced budget, are okay. And I don't consider them to be the least bit unethical. And again, and I'm not putting it forward necessarily so that people across the community are going to vote for an override. Okay. What I'm saying is,
you're not in violation of
what I'm saying is that we have gotten to the point here in this community where we cannot afford to allow the educational system in this community to suffer any further. Having said that, the only other alternative we have is to cut back on the level of services that we currently provide to the general public through the general government form of the budget. Plain and simple. We're at the breaking point. So people are going to have to decide whether or not they want to support less in the way of services for the same amount of money, or step up to the plate and maintain what we have, which again is a minimal level of services across the board, not just in education, across the board. But we've reestablished our priorities now. The board has agreed. We've reestablished our priorities as a community, as community leaders, that education has been cut too much. And we're just getting to the point, how much are we willing to restore in a non-override budget to ensure that some of those cuts are restored. So as far as the ethics of it all, I take great exception to the comment.
I didn't say you said you were not unethical. You said you're making cuts.
Unfortunately, I felt it necessary to...
All right, okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
Well,
we have a motion on the floor.
We're not through with the line.
So we're going to go through the entire list before we... the next item was HR, right? And I think that...
DPW was 33,000. Yes, sir. You had 3 votes for 33,000.
3 votes.
Bill was on both. That got him to 85.
Steve and I support. Yeah, Bill. Okay. HR.
No.
I think that we've been light in HR for a couple of years now. I think we're venturing into an area where we're going to need, town administrators are going to need that strong support to deal with implementing the changes that need to be changed, that need to be addressed in our labor contracts, and we're going to need that professional support. And I can't support that particular.
I agree.
Which gets us to the last item, which is the police department. And I think Chief Nolan has expressed concern over it. I have thought long and hard about this. This is a difficult one for me, but when I look at the overall resources in the community and in general government, I think that I can support the elimination of 2 offices. And I will be supporting that. And Mr. O'Leary, I believe, is in support of that. I don't think anyone else is at this. Absolutely not. Okay. So, but in this round, we have come up with $83,000, and this is what Mr. Dardino was aiming at, associated with covering the cost of the employee benefits for the Phase 1 budget item.
So should I make a motion for that?
We're going to make a motion. He wants to make a proposal.
You'll make a motion to that effect?
Yeah. The original motion that Steve made, we haven't voted. So at this point,
put that to the floor, note it down, and then...
Okay. All in favor of Mr. O'Leary's? Are you following this? Yes. Okay. It's very important. All in favor of Mr. O'Leary's proposal for $275,000, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay.
I move.
I had originally made a motion to, out of the list, out of the 495, to actually identify 274,000. That motion was just defeated. So we're now going to have another motion. Mr. Chairman, I move, Bill, if you want to make it, doesn't matter.
Sure, I move that we cut 25,000 from rec, cut, I'm sorry, lost the other.
25,000 from the treasurers and
Treasurer's office,
$33,000 from DPW.
$33,000 from the DPW.
For a total of $83,000.
Second.
To fully fund priority warrant.
On the motion, seconded by Mr. Dadino, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. You want to make a comment and then open it up to the floor for a long discussion at this point?
Maybe that's, yeah, I think I've been in recreation 30 years. And
Okay. All right, it's fair, recreation.
Thanks. Okay. I appreciate certainly what the school's going through because obviously I have children in the schools. And I absolutely appreciate what Deanna and her group has done because I understand how much work that has been for the past couple of years and we have gained a lot of money for the town by a volunteer group. But I do want to remind everybody that the Recreation Committee and LUC got Ipswich River Park here, paid back $375. Recreation wrote it and LUC wrote a $1 million grant to have Ipswich River Park. So we're not just a group of people that throw the balls around and whatever. And for the last 14 years, we have done nothing but raise $40,000 to $50,000 a year in addition to the grants and things we've done. So do I take offense sometimes, I think, when they sit there and say we can cut it because we can raise it back? If they cut the $150,000 today, that includes another 10 or 11% or whatever it is, 11,000 per person, that's another 180, that's 33,000. In addition to it being $100 and probably $40 user fee that's going to be attached for every child who plays the sport, or we close the sports down, or we close the River Park down. Those are some of the things we have to do too. I'm absolutely in favor of an override, and I'm not in favor of those cuts because I think, to be quite honest with you, recreation has done their parts when everybody was doing very well, and the schools were doing well, and police and fire and everybody else were doing well. We were still raising money to put it down. To cut that down, like I tried to say earlier, we are a small revenue stream. You had Mike Frisco the other night talked about we have to look for things that come in and not to keep cutting. Recreation, as small as it is, makes money and brings back to the town to cut the fields and do things. We're not just $150,000 that you're cutting. If you cut that, you may as well lay off the people and let all the volunteers go and go back to somebody's going to have to cut the fields or whatever. Let all the leagues go out of town because that's what's happening.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just in relation to the motion, and it relates to the motion and specifically to the recreation and the DPW position of maintaining it. I think this highlights the need and the necessity for us to facilitate the discussions with Hillview and the enterprise and the role it can play in maintaining our parks and fields, not just for the recreation fields, but also I think the school department needs to engage in some discussion with the Hillview and the enterprise by putting some of your fields under the enterprise, which may therefore allow the enterprise fund to assist in maintaining and probably doing having the ability to funnel more funds and cash towards those resources in maintaining our fields and our parks and our playing fields. So I think this type of activity, and this is where we're at, we have to start thinking differently. We have to start operating differently. And unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, this forces us to do things a little bit differently than we've been used to. And I think it's necessary. This helps facilitate the discussion. Hillview is at a juncture within 2 years. Again, we're going to have a significant revenue stream there for specified purposes. It's not there to be rated to support general government or the school department, but it certainly is there to help assist in maintaining whatever comes under the auspices of the enterprise. And it doesn't preclude us from putting more property under the enterprise. And that way they can legitimately support the maintenance of it.
All right, at this point, I'd call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
4 to 1. And this concludes
Mr. Chair,
this piece of it. I want to cover one more item, okay, which I think is important, and then, and that is, I'd like now to identify position on it as to what, first of all, the total amount of money that has been moved to the school department, their override request will be adjusted accordingly. The next question is, of all of the items that include getting to the balanced status quo budget and these cuts here, we need to make a list of what is going into the override question to cover general government at this point. So what are the wishes of the board? Maybe we can go back to the original slide, and my slide lady is left. Starting with the 708 number, Marcy. Okay, on this list, I heard that there was a desire to put the solid waste on the override question. I don't know where we stand on that.
Police and fire.
Well, let's take one at a time. Somebody's going to make it note of this. Steve, where are you on that?
On which one? Yeah.
The,
You want to go through your list, your 708?
Yeah.
I mean, the retirement benefits, I don't think are necessary. That's just a one-shot deal we should be doing anyway. Vocational school, we didn't do. Non-exempt debt, I don't believe we should be rating that fund.
So add that
I think
back.
that $150,000 should be in there, should be in the override to maintain the debt stabilization fund as we originally established.
okay, so what I'd like to do is just get and we'll vote on a total number vote. Let's start with, how many votes do we have to put that back? Okay, that's kind of unanimous.
Mr. Chair, before we get to the override, can we talk about some potential other items before it seems like you've already jumped over to the override issue. I'd like to make a suggestion in regards to finding some more revenue.
I'm open to suggestions. And I'm open to suggestions.
Well, I'd like to hear. Go ahead. Be brief, please.
I will, I'm sorry. One of the things that people do in business a lot, especially when you have a 1%, if you have a 1% budget you're trying to get to, is you create a stretch target for yourself. Okay, you create a target. And a perfect case right now is the $300,000 of the copay, right? Maybe it is a little premature, Greg. Let's take a stance. Let's say, all right, we're gonna shoot for the $300,000. We're gonna put it in that we're gonna get it. We'll negotiate with the unions, and if we don't, we'll have a fallback position to cover ourselves. We can't just stop.
Greg's position on that, if I'm correct, is it would start with the negotiations.
Maybe. We don't know that. We need to create a stretch. Hold on, I'm not done, please. Mr. Dardino sent me an email this past week. We exchanged a couple of emails. And he was proud that his kids were able to get through this community with a good education at our schools. By making these decisions and just stopping right now, you're not affording me that chance, Phil. You're not. You're not. We can't stop. We cannot stop at priority one. We've got to find $320,000 before we leave this room to put in a non-override budget before you get to an override budget.
We don't have to do that, okay? You may want us to do that. We don't have to do that.
I understand that. It was
And-
a choice of
and
words. I'm
with
requesting that you do
respect
that.
respect to your idea, what would happen is if we fail, first of all, there's a concern about starting a negotiation and ruining our goal, the goal of getting the GIC, which is more important to us. It's a year off.
How much savings is there in that?
Let me continue. And through the chair, you'll have an opportunity to comment. And by taking that, and if we fail to negotiate, and we come July 1st, we're on a new budget, we would actually have to cut employees to fund that $300,000. And that's significant, and that would have to come across both town and school. The risk is too high.
Yeah, in relation to that, and again, I thought about it too, and I'm still thinking about it. But that $300,000, and again, what you'd have to do is